Hey guys, welcome back. I've got Jason Hunter with Sage Law Partners here with me today. I want to talk about operating agreements or bylaws and buy-sells with organizations. When I've had a number of conversations with each of you over the years and asked you about those documents, honestly, more than half of you don't have one of those in place, even if you have partners in your business. So, Jason, kind of talk to me about what's an operating agreement or bylaws. What's their purpose in those documents?
You bet. Operating agreements and bylaws or shareholder agreements, they're the documents that establish the rules for the business and govern the relationships of the shareholders and the managers of the business.
So a lot of you guys out there have other owners there, right? It's not just a solo shop. You've got other partners in the business. And think about the life events that could affect how you're running the business and why an agreement about how to handle situations would be important up front. So Jason, give me a sense, like what are the life events that could happen that maybe we're not thinking about, but really do happen on a regular basis?
Let's just list off a few of those life events. One of them is death. We'll go immediately to the worst case. One of them is maybe incapacitation.
Okay.
One of them can be divorce. Unfortunately, if you're a partner with someone getting divorced, your interest can be impacted. One of the big life events that frequently involves lawyers is where partners can't reach an agreement as to a certain aspect. Maybe they're 50-50 owners, and so just the can't agree or the rogue actor situation.
So we've talked in other videos, and you've heard me, kind of talk ad nauseum, honestly, about trust and estate plans and why everybody needs one. That's a really great document for the personal life and how to handle that. What we're talking about here is the same thing, but for the business. You want to plan ahead and address the elephants in the room in all of these circumstances so you kind of know how to deal with those situations. So I'll give you kind of an example, Jason, I ran into with a client just recently where one of the owners was getting a divorce. And inside their operating agreement, they had a predetermined valuation methodology in the operating agreement that said when a partner gets divorced, the spouse that is going to be exiting out, how to deal with that spouse, how to deal with those shares, how those shares get valued. All those questions were just magically dealt with already. It was already signed and agreed to by all the owners and their spouses. And so, this was done years ago. And now, unfortunately, we've had 2 divorces in this particular business between the different owners, and the operating agreement, it lived to serve the purpose it really was trying to accomplish. We now know the value, we know how to handle those shares, and we know what to go with it. So I don't think we can really emphasize enough why that's important. We just hope that you guys are able to kind of jump on that moment. So Jason, talk to us about, we've kind of addressed the divorce situation. One of the other moments that a lot of you guys aren't thinking about is when one of the partners does pass away, if the ownership in the business is still intact at that time, how do you handle that situation?
So like the divorce situation, it's always best if you have an agreement in place to govern the valuation, the payment terms, the transfers, how the ownership actually changes, and maybe a funding mechanism, which could be life insurance or in the case of death. But what we're really trying to do, like your divorce situation, is make sure that we've kind of closed the universe on our problems. Our problems are following the valuation formula. Our problems are making sure that the business cash flows to pay for the agreed payout. We're trying to just make sure that we have a grasp on what we're dealing with.
And when the problems involve just disagreements between partners, we're trying to put a harness around how do you handle those moments? They happen, right? I mean, it is life. You're not going to agree every single time, and especially in circumstances where you've got 50-50 ownership, that's a bit of a tenuous situation when you have disagreements. Having a document about how to reach those agreements would be a really important component that makes the running of the business go much smoother.
It is, absolutely. This is one of those situations where a little bit of planning and foresight, trying to address a potential deadlock in a 50-50 situation, or maybe you've got some smaller partner that didn't turn out to be a great employee that you have to separate with, and then also maybe buy their interests out. Planning ahead and addressing those issues on the front end will make it easier. And our purpose in all of this is to not disrupt the continuity of the business. Right. We're trying to protect that as a going concern. So all of these life events and the agreements that we use to deal with them, our end goal is to try to keep the business going, try to keep it alive.
Does any of this change in your mind's eye of the importance of this document, Jason, when the 50-50 partners are husband and wife?
That's a fantastic question. And it can change. That actually presents some very unique problems, because in addition to having the business agreements, you have this mixture of of what is the marital estate and how it should be divided or managed, that is a very sticky situation. I would say that would be one where it would be beneficial to have a fair amount of outside advice. And it may be a situation where spouses need separate outside advice to make sure that neither is being mistreated.
And really, at the end of the day, again, it doesn't matter how sticky of a situation we're kind of pointing out. I mean, we're kind of addressing the big elephants in the room of trying to run a business when you have multiple owners. The whole purpose behind and the sales pitch we're frankly given on why you need to have an operating agreement or a shareholder agreement is because these sticky situations are legit, they're real, they happen, we see them every single day of what we're dealing with. It's just important for you guys to have those documents in place. And aside from all of those reasons, just realize that if you want to go get bank financing or open up a bank account, generally speaking, your banks need to have these documents. And I am a little surprised at how many of our clients don't have them. Probably last question for you, Jason, here is, we've talked about estate and trust plans and how you need to revisit them every 3 to 5 years. Once you've done an operating agreement or a shareholder agreement, is there any purpose in having to re-litigate this one more time every 3 to 5 years? Or is it more of a set it and forget it, it's done, let's move on?
Oh man, that is a fantastic point. These governing documents, they need to be revisited. What I see, and I suspect what you see from your clients, is that if they've got these documents, they've got some very simple form as their startup document. And 5 years later, the issues have changed. And maybe more attention needs to be paid to the valuation methodology or the management structure or the rights of shareholders to take or use certain assets or receive distributions. So it is a living document. 5 years, I'd say, would be the outside period on revisiting the terms, even if it's briefly. And again, when I talk about these reviews 3 to 5 years on your estate plan or your business documents, this is potentially a 15, 30, 45-minute review. But I think it is a review with an outside advisor so that you're getting asked the questions that maybe aren't on the front of your mind, but that you and I are maybe seeing more frequently so that you can address them. Absolutely, they change.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, folks, honestly, I hope that if you've watched this, if you consider your own situation, if you have these governing documents for your business, congratulations. But if it's been 3 to 5 years since you've really dusted them off and looked at them, please give Jason a call and take a look at those and see if there's an opportunity to improve them or enhance them based upon your circumstances. Or if you don't have them at all, give Jason a call. It's important that we get those documents established for you.